The world's largest bank, JP Morgan, is putting on an all-out attack on Bitcoin. And it should be no surprise to anybody watching this at home, because we've heard Jamie Dimon say for years at a time how much he hates Bitcoin and everything associated with it, how he calls it a pet rock and all of these other things. We'll actually break down the entire timeline here in this video today. But what I think is interesting is that now he's using financial engineering to attack one of the biggest Bitcoin treasury companies in the world. And on top of it, he's also implementing their strategy. And I don't think he's done yet. Everybody else that I've heard is just detailing the attack, but they're missing one major thing that can continue this attack for a long period of time. So I'm going to go into all of that. But first, we have to dive into why JP Morgan has sold off 25% of their entire holdings of MSTR. Obviously, this is JP Morgan's client base, so you can see they absolutely love MSTR. They started buying and dumping in shares heavily in Q2 of last year, then our Q2, Q3, then you see Q4, Q5, and or Q1 and Q2 of this year. They absolutely exploded. Then all of a sudden, they had a giant drop. Shortly after, we had JP Morgan and Jamie Dimon, CEO, admit he was wrong. So let's listen in to what Jamie Dimon had to say.
I've gotten away with no damage so far. Crypto is real. If you mean blockchain, stable coins, you have a JP Morgan deposit coin, you can move stuff, smart contracts are real, all that stuff is real. It will be used by all of us to facilitate, better transactions and customer service.
So he's saying now that Bitcoin and blockchain and stable coins and JPM coin, which I think is very interesting, is all real, as he's sitting there in the Saudi Investor Summit, who obviously the Saudis love these big businesses like Tether and others that have had an extremely profitable business model. And now on top of it, Jamie Dimon, he wants a piece of that cookie. He wants to be able to profit on what this industry is doing. And he's seeing that, okay, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, there is some way that we can profit off this, because we've seen more than 100 publicly traded companies. In fact, we've seen 209 publicly traded companies now come on and put Bitcoin on the balance sheet. All of these publicly traded companies now have over 1 million Bitcoin, and they keep on stacking. And their friends at BlackRock are noticing this as well, because they're making an interesting move. We'll get into that later. But let's get back into the timeline here, because now this connection and this timeline is very, very interesting. So Jim Chanos, May 14th, he came out and said, long JP Morgan and short MSTR. Now, why did he say that at that time? Because it is very interesting with the way that Jim Chanos has essentially just said, let's embrace Bitcoin. Let's embrace all of this. But when it comes to, well, now CoinDesk all of a sudden, after scrolling this, wants to make me create an account. But all of these guys, right? Jim Chanos, did he outplay this? Because he had this miraculous timing when it came to MSTR and their returns shortly after. But I think something interesting, when you look at the returns of MSTR, especially the monthly returns here after, Jim Chanos made that call, initially, a lot of people were dunking on Jim Chanos because the monthly return in June was actually positive. I mean, if you look at this, right, June was up 10%. He made the call in May 14th. So, okay, maybe, just maybe, he was wrong. But then all of a sudden, starting in July and August and September and November, we've seen major, major sell-offs in MSTR. So you got to ask yourself, why was that? And is this connected with the JP Morgan sell-off? Why are we seeing all of this, right? Why does all these JP Morgan clients now all of a sudden, obviously they love MSTR. Sure, the short-term performance hasn't been good, but it's been accelerated, all of this negative performance, right? So why, oh, why did we see such a big downward swing here? Well, let's dive in to the reasoning for all that, because JP Morgan then in July raised their margin requirement for trading MicroStrategy MSTR from 50 to 95%. So that means investors can only use 5% leverage to buy MSTR shares or buy something else in regards to their MSTR holdings. So I think it's very interesting when they're only, they don't necessarily have a, let's call it a playbook for all of these different stocks, but then all of a sudden you raise your firm-wide margin for MSTR, a single stock, by literally 95%, or by 90%, excuse me. Some quick maths there. But then on top of it, JP Morgan released a fact sheet about the preliminary pricing supplements for leverage projects linked to IBIT. And so, well, what is IBIT? IBIT is BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, which they also recently increased their own exposure to in BlackRock. So BlackRock and JP Morgan, these guys are working together to financially engineer and essentially move everybody away from MSTR, because the narrative previously has been MSTR is able to give either leveraged or give people exposure to Bitcoin that they previously didn't have it. You think pension funds, you think all of these different aspects. Well, JP Morgan and BlackRock, for that matter, realize, hey, we can't profit off of this as much unless we give them a product that is either linked to Bitcoin or some sort of aspect of that. And so what do? They created the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, of course. And then they're like, okay, well, now these pension funds, all of these people that have been looking for exposure, well, they've been seeing outsized returns, especially compared to Bitcoin with MSTR. But what can we do to incentivize them to just hold Bitcoin, the asset, through us instead of holding MSTR? Well, we can crash the MSTR stock and then do something that I think you guys will all be very interested in. And it is a little fishy here, and we'll get into that here in a minute. But seeing BlackRock's own income-producing Bitcoin ETFs and seeing this holdings go up was very interesting. Now, let's keep going down the timeline, right? The Metaplanet announces a capital raise, and the MSCI panics, realizing that more companies are adopting Saylor's playbook at scale. It's an extension of the ongoing consultation. And then Morgan Stanley, looks at something with the IBIT ETF. And then JP Morgan files for its own IBIT structural note. And then on the 20th day, they bought the media and essentially said that there is a delisting risk once they bought the media. So it's interesting because JP Morgan still has a lot, and it's not just, Yahoo Finance and all these guys too. I mean, we had Bitcoin Magazine even write in that Saylor's MicroStrategy could see billions in outflows with all of this because it could be removed from major indices. This is a JP Morgan analyst. But then we've been uncovering all of this on this channel, so make sure you guys are subscribed and hitting that like button for me so we can spread this news on how financial engineering is still going on even in the Bitcoin space. But JP Morgan was then accused that they brought up this 42-day document because they did. Why did they bring it up during that timing? They brought it up and then they saw a huge liquidation, all while JP Morgan was saying, hey, you know what? We're working in the background to build and bring a new structured note that would literally directly compete with MicroStrategy's preferred stock offerings. So you ask yourself, why this timing? Why is JP Morgan now bringing up this 42-year-old day note, which they knew it was their smoking gun? They've had this under wraps for a while because they knew that they were building this in the background. And like I said before, this isn't something that is new to JP Morgan and Jamie Dimon. No. They've been manipulating markets for quite some time. They've even gotten sued and had to pay nearly $1 billion for JP Morgan manipulating the silver markets. So JP Morgan and Jamie Dimon, this is nothing new to them. And what's interesting is that these precious metals traders, okay, sure, they were linked and sent to prison, but JP Morgan lives on. That company didn't really have to face much. You just have to get rid of those quote unquote bad egg employees, and then you'll be okay, right? You can keep doing all of this. You can keep going on business as usual. So when you look at how JP Morgan has acted previously in the past, and you see the financial engineering that I've pointed out in the timeline of events, it really honestly makes you think, right? Like, what else is Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan doing in this back end? And why else is this timing? Because Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan, they're very calculated, right? They're not just going to do this for some odd reason and just put this out there. They're doing all of these things with very precise or very precision-based thinking, right? They want these guys, they want to take down MSTR at a good time, right? So they see MSTR sentiment and Bitcoin sentiments low. We're going to help out our friends over at BlackRock continue to stack more Bitcoin. And we're going to potentially put some pressure on some of these Bitcoin treasury companies. So as these Bitcoin treasury companies are coming on, they might have to sell their Bitcoin. And that is going to be something that's going to put some more pressure on the market. And we're going to get into all of this coordinated attack here in a minute. But I don't think you guys in the crowd should have to sell your Bitcoin either. We've got nearly 150 of you guys watching across all platforms. And if you guys all go to saltlending.com/green-candle today, you can unlock your purchasing power. You can do this. You could use the financial engineering that Jamie Dimon and all of these guys are using if you go to saltlending.com/green-candle, because at the end of the day, right, these guys before had access to different tools that us plebs, we didn't have. We've seen the wallets of the 10,000 or 10 million sats, excuse me. We've seen those wallets decrease during this dip. And the wallets with 1,000 Bitcoin or more increase during this dip. I'm begging you guys in the crowd, don't sell your Bitcoin if you don't need to. You could borrow against it to unlock some purchasing power as well. So go to saltlending.com/green-candle. They've got some of the best rates. And I'm just going to tell you guys this offhand. Some of the best rates starting at 9.95%. You guys could get 50% off your entire, or 50 basis points, 50 basis points off your entire loan if you go to saltlending.com/green-candle and you use promo code GC-SALT-01. You get the 12-month duration and you can borrow up to 70% LTV. There's no prepayment fees, no credit checks. And then when you see Bitcoin potentially crashing, well, you can do the Salt Shield, right? So this Salt Shield allows you guys to not have to worry about any potential liquidations, because we see Jamie Dimon potentially manufacturing this crash, right? And they filed for this full and well knowing that they had a smoking gun, right? They filed for this knowing that, hey, we've got this potentially, let's call it old information that we can use against MicroStrategy. And the Bitcoin Watcher is saying the old dinosaurs are attacking the new generation, and that's exactly it. These guys are essentially saying, hey, we want to make sure that you guys stay poor. You guys own nothing and you're happy, right? We've been telling you guys to buy Bitcoin for a while on this channel. And it's very interesting when you keep looking and seeing all of the bullish news here, but then you take a look and say, hey, Bitcoin is going down. The American homeowner population is flatlining. You see all of these negatives around and all of these negative headlines. But hey, don't buy any of these treasury companies. And honestly, this sentiment is causing a huge major slowdown. I mean, look, there's only 4 that have been announced in the last month. And when I've been telling you guys all this in the past, I mean, we would see, almost one a day nearly come on. We saw 64 Bitcoin treasury companies at the time Trump was elected last year. It's a little over a year. We've seen 209 now. So that's literally 145 increase, 145 companies increasing. So will we continue to see that, especially with the sentiment down? That's been a bullish case for me for quite some time. I don't think that we need all of these Bitcoin treasury companies around, but the exclusion of this, of MSTR, is very interesting because the amount of passive inflows that they see and the fact that they've been qualified for it for quite some time and continue to get passed over, it really makes you think, why would Jamie Dimon and these guys want to attack it, right? Well, you see, like I said, passive inflows come in. You've seen Saylor have 4 of the top 10 most successful IPOs ever within this past year alone. So it shows that the demand for this product is extremely high. But I hinted to this at the beginning, and nobody is really talking about this very point here because we're seeing Saylor essentially get shouted out by the Wells Fargo CEO for attacking the $300 trillion global bond market with STRK. Well, look, let's be honest. Jamie Dimon and they see this. They're like, okay, we want a piece of this pie. This is something that we cannot let go under wraps. But what else is Michael Saylor going after? He's going after the $145 trillion fixed income market. So I'll be watching very closely because I truly believe, all right, JP Morgan and Jamie Dimon, they're seeing the big market. They're seeing the big ones, right? So let's go after the $300 trillion. Okay, that's smart. That's a good business decision, right? You got to bring some competition to Saylor and them. But what they're also doing is they're attacking the stock of MSTR so they can do this. And they've been proven to be successful. Let's be honest, right? I showed you guys the returns. Strategy is not having the best year, and Bitcoin is down. And so because of all of these factors, JP Morgan says, okay, this is a good time. What do we always say in the Bitcoin space? The bear markets are good for building, right? JP Morgan and Jamie Dimon, they know the same thing, right? We could launch these financial engineering products, see how the demand is when everything's slow, and then, maybe ride some of this volatility. And then what else are we going to see, right? Then they're going to start to launch these. They're going to slowly but surely have a fixed income product coming out here soon that's going to compete with Strive, that's giving 10 to 11%. And it's all because MicroStrategy has been able to stack nearly 650,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So Jamie Dimon sees all of this and he hears those things, right? Granted, right? He is a snake. I don't think that he's anything past that. But I do think that he understands the financial markets just as well, if not better than Michael Saylor. He's been in it for a while. He understands what he's doing. And I think that he really wants to start to capture some of this. So how is he going to do that? Well, he's going to sabotage the MSTR stock and all of its financial engineering products. I mean, if you look at them now, they're all under $100. And that was the goal target, was for all of them to be at $100. So if they're all under that, and we're seeing the negatives of that, well, and everybody's saying, oh, there's no demand here, there's no demand there. Let's be honest, right? Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan have the ability to manufacture demand, right? What did they do? right? I mean, you just saw it. They limited the demand of MSTR because there was so much demand for this stock. So what did they do? They manufactured it down. They said, okay, hang on a minute. We think that having MSTR stock go up, oh, it's too volatile. Don't get into Bitcoin. You won't need our banking services. Well, now they realize, okay, now BlackRock's got this I bet ETF. You still need our services. Okay, well, now, hey, we don't need you for the global bond market. We don't need you to buy bonds. The bond vigilantes have been profiting off us for so much time, right? Jamie Dimon is saying, oh, the bond market's going to get absolutely destroyed. Wells Fargo CEO, one of Jamie Dimon's competitors, is saying, okay, well, it's one of the most unsung heroes, one of the biggest stories. Bitcoin is tapping into this $300 trillion bond market. Nobody's talking about the $145 trillion bond market except for people like Mark Moss and some of these other, Bitcoiners right now. But let me tell you something. These big guys, they're paying attention. And if this isn't proof that they aren't paying attention or that they are paying attention, I don't know what is. So, I mean, they're seeing that Bitcoin is on a generational run, and they saw this dip, right? I mean, this dip shows that Jamie Dimon and company know exactly what is going on. But something that is very interesting too, what they're also seeing is, hey, you know what? I've been doing a few videos of this, so make sure you guys check it out, but hit the subscription button. But the wallets with 10 million sats went down during the dip. But the institutions holding 1,000 Bitcoin or more, look at that. They've skyrocketed in flight, absolutely taken off. So why are these ones taking off? And they're essentially selling off the shrimps, right? All of these guys, they're looking at this. How can we shake out these weak hands? We cannot let the plebs do it. We can't let the plebs take this over. The narrative of this entire cycle has been that, oh, the plebs aren't here. Retail hasn't even shown up yet. But I know you guys in the chat, I'm not calling you guys all retail here, but I know you guys in the chat will get your friends and tell them to get the head out the ass and start buying some Bitcoin. Because yes, JP Morgan, they tried to kill Bear Stearns, or they did kill him at $2 a share. Look, I think their ability to attack JP Morgan or to attack MSTR is going to be different, because I think the Bitcoiners, they're going to do what they can to try to help Michael Saylor out in this aspect, right? Yeah, it's less than 1% of all people over 60 know how to use a phone. Yeah, the new generation is going to take over for sure. And Jamie Dimon, he's gone from hating Bitcoin to now embracing the stablecoin revolution. So the one thing that I think we can all get behind is getting your Bitcoin off exchanges. And there's a huge Black Friday deal. It's going on all up until what? It's going on until December 3rd. So you guys need to check it out here. Go to Trezor.io or the affiliate link. Actually, I'm pretty sure you need to go to the affiliate link down below. You could do this. You could get a Trezor Safe 3 and a Trezor Safe 5 for 40% off. I don't think I've ever seen a bigger deal in my life than what Trezor is doing here. So you could get your Bitcoin off exchanges for extremely cheap, or you could get the new Safe 7 with a wireless charger. That's what I use to store my Bitcoin. It keeps it safe and secure. It's the best, honestly. It's the easiest way to store Bitcoin, often exchange and continue it. So that's why I trust Trezor. They've got a brand new chip that is ready to go against quantum computing, and it's fully open source. That's why I trust them. And on top of it, you can't just stop there. You guys also have to back it up on metal. Don't store your seed phrase on something where people can find it easily, see it easily. This is why I like the crypto steel. They'll send it to you anonymously if you like, but the thing I like about it the best is that they've got a tamper seal on there. All of these other ones, like if I had my seed phrase written on this, you guys here in the chat could all see all the words here. But if I had my seed phrase in a crypto steal, well, they've got a tamper seal on there so you could see if anybody, literally if anybody, opens that up and accesses your seed phrase. So you don't have to go and double check, hey, did my seed phrase get stolen? You know right away. So with this, make sure you guys go to cryptosteal.com/greencandle. Use promo code greencandle. They've got a Black Week sale. So get these now, and you can use promo code greencandle for 10% off of everything. So make sure you guys do that. Take advantage of their sale. And don't be like the guys that have 10 million sats or more selling off. Because when you see these big institutions buying Bitcoin, well, you're literally selling your Bitcoin to BlackRock. You're selling your Bitcoin to Michael Saylor. You're selling your Bitcoin to all of these big guys. I mean, we saw it, BlackRock. I mean, watch what they do, not what they say. They've increased their Bitcoin holdings by 14% of their own ETF, right? And that's when Bitcoin's price was going down. People were selling off, but BlackRock wasn't. So the biggest money managers in the world are here. They're coming for your Bitcoin. So make sure you guys are smart about it and take it off exchanges. And as well, make sure you guys hit that like. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Keep hitting those bell notifications too so you could blow me up in the chat because, hey, we got to spread the word about Epstein's banker and what financial attacks he's doing on the Bitcoin space. So enjoy your Black Friday, guys. Go get your some deals. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch you guys all at the next one.